Sat down with Matt and Daniel. They host the Everything PT podcast. You can find them on YouTube. Had a discussion. They wanted to talk about, my backstory and how I parallel communications and a communications background with what I do now in my physical therapy career. We even asked the question, or I think I try to answer the question, is Jimmy a real physical therapist? We can get into that too. Just a cool discussion. I like to see what they're doing. I like to see the fact that they're doing what I try to encourage lots of other people to do, including you. Yes, the person listening to this podcast. I mean, if you're able to listen to a podcast and you value it, what kind of communication can you create and share for the benefit of the profession or patients or your personal brand or business? It's communication, people. That's what it is. So I was excited to see them doing the thing that I try to get so many people to do. Just between you and I, this doesn't mean I think you should start a podcast. That's just one way. That's just one how. You could write things. You could share things on social media. Really, the possibilities for you communicating, and again, I'm talking to you listening to this podcast, the possibilities for you creating communications content that clearly achieves understanding, I mean, the possibilities are endless. What you have locked up in your brain is amazing. What you know is amazing. And there's no shortage of need, anyway, to share that information, because it kind of doesn't matter what you know unless you get it out of your brain and someone else understands it. And then from there, it's up to them to decide to use it or not. Remember, our job is to achieve understanding. It's not to convince. It's not to politic. It's not to preach. None of those things. It's to try to achieve understanding. And I hope that comes across here in this episode when I sort of dive into what I do on a day-to-day and my backstory and the whole nine. So excited for you to hear this. And hey, take a listen to their other guests. I was just going through their YouTube channel. They got a lot of other guests, people I've never talked to on my podcast. And I have 1,000 downloads. And that's great, because the more people, physical therapists or people in healthcare or rehab or whatever you want to talk about, the more we're talking, closer we can get to achieving understanding. And that's the point. Thanks to our friends from MW Therapy. That's an EMR. An EMR is to a physical therapist as a hammer is to a carpenter. You should deserve to love using it. It's time for something better and something customizable. Check them out at mwtherapy.com, where switching over your EMR is actually easy. Our friends at cbdrxforyou.com. Get the ABCs of CBD. I mean, your patients are going to be using it. Do you know how it's going to affect their rehabilitation? Do you 100% know? We'll find out now at cbdrx, the number 4, the letter U.com. And where's your career going? Jackson Therapy Partners wants to know. They provide awesome adventures in patient care for physical therapists who care about where they're going. Travel therapy. Find out what's available to you. Where's your next destination? At jacksontherapy.com.
We talk PT, drink beer, and record it. This is the PT Pintcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Everything PT podcast again. Daniel, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, my friend.
Good.
It's a beautiful, it's not quite fall here in Atlanta, but I think summer is officially over. So I wore a jacket earlier. I should have taken it off, but the shirt I have underneath, I'm doing some home reno after this, so it's not really appropriate.
There you go. Yeah, my jacket's all the way zipped up today. It's cold in West Virginia. I'm about to get in the hunting woods here in the near future, so I'm excited for this weekend.
Good deal. Is the beard coming back?
I can't stand it. It irritates under my neck, and I don't know if I'm manly enough for it, but.
Well, hey man, we have a really cool guest today.
We do. I'm really excited about our guest today. But without much further ado, you want to take a minute and introduce our guest?
I think the name alone, he can introduce himself because we have a couple followers.
Is the really cool guest coming on after me? Can I stick around to listen to the really cool guest? What's up, guys? I'm Jimmy McKay. I'm a physical therapist and podcast host. Science communicator is how I now introduce myself. As
I like
a
that. Nice.
Well,
all right. So anybody who doesn't know, Jimmy McKay hosts a podcast, the PT Pintcast, where you talk physical therapy and you drink beer. So
sometimes vodka sodas. If I want to.
So I mean, look, I don't have any more patience today. I just came from a client's house, so I have my beer here. What are you drinking, sir?
I'm drinking Leinenkugel Summer Shandy, and it's because I found a 6-pack in the drawer of the bottom. You know how like some old refrigerators had the non-clear drawer, and I pulled that out. I was like, oh God, I have a 6-pack of this summer beer. And you're Atlanta, West Virginia. I'm in upstate New York. It is fall is full swing right now. The fire is going in the background because it's like 60 degrees, but I hate cold. So
there you go.
That's why I went with the summer beer to hang on to summer's title.
No, I'm actually finishing off my summer beers. I have a Wicked Weed Brewing out of Asheville. Nice. And I'm drinking a Dr. Dank IPA, which is brewed with hemp seed. So I'm curious to see how it goes.
I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got some funky artwork on the front.
I like that.
I've been to that place in Asheville. Very cool.
All right, so Jimmy, my first question is actually a segue from beer. All right, it's fall. I love my autumn beers, but there's a lot of debate on pumpkin beer.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What are your thoughts?
I never discriminate. So I do host a show where we drink beers, and that is a thing that I like to do. It's also the reason I do that is it's a little bit of a shtick. My show was born out of like, hey, conversation trumps presentation every time. Our brains are wired for conversation. Our brains are wired for story, not so much presentation. So I watched a presentation as a student, didn't understand everything. Fast forward a few hours ago, I met the speaker in a bar, and in 15 minutes, I understood everything he was talking about. His 60-minute presentation was completely clear in 15 minutes, and we were having a beer to do it. And then I realized that was the reason. It wasn't necessarily the beer, but it was the setting. On stage, he was a presenter, and he was using the largest words he could possibly use, and I didn't understand what the hell he's talking about. 2 hours later, in 15 minutes, I understood everything. So I recreated this, right? Art imitates life. And now, like, the first thing I do is ask the guests what they're drinking and yada, yada. And the reason I do that is just to set the tone. Like, hey, everybody, listener. Hey, everybody, guest. This is a nice, fun space where I want you to converse. And like, I say I'm the best batting practice pitcher you're ever going to meet. I put it right over the middle because my goal is to get you to be you. So this is a long way of saying, hey, what's your thoughts on pumpkin spice? I always tell guests too, alcohol is not required. I'm not going to discriminate. And I do have like a clause in there. It is the Pintcast, but a pint is a unit of measurement. You can put anything you want in a pint. I don't care what the heck you're drinking. Come, be energetic and passionate and smart. So I do not like pumpkin anything. I just don't. Like for me, anything you have to put that much sugar in to make taste good. I'm like, well, why is it pumpkin pie? Like, why don't we start with cherry or apple? I would eat that off the tree or wherever. But I also don't discriminate is why I'm saying a guest doesn't have to drink. You do you. Let your freak flag fly, pumpkin it up. I don't care. I'm not going to mock, but I'm not going to join in. Tried the stuff. I don't like it. I do my thing. You do your thing.
Yeah. There's the saying, there's a time and place for everything. Well, I think, there's an occasion for every beer.
Yeah.
And, my wife loves it. I'm kind of, I'll get into it, but then after, 2 or 3 pumpkin spice things, I'm done. But I am excited to get some new pumpkin spice.
I've tried it. I mean, that's the thing. You can't hate something unless you've tried it. I've done it. Not my thing. If it's your thing, good. More for you. I'll go do a different thing.
I'm going to bring the group down. I'm drinking a Premier Protein cafe latte because I do have patience to see at 1:00 today. So bring the group down a little bit, but
that's actually how Matt and I met. I went to West Virginia to install an icy kinetic machine, and I always get there the night before. And if I'm not, I have an Oculus that I take with me to keep me out of trouble. But I knew Matt was a young guy, so I invited him out for beers.
Nerd alert!
Yeah, super nerd. I'm actually ranked, I think, 91st on Space
in
Pirate
what
Trainer. I'm a big deal.
What is the
on the Oculus Quest Space Pirate Trainer?
So a friend of mine comes to me because I'm like her resident tech person. And I'm like, I haven't tried the Oculus. And she's like, how are the games on that? So they cool? Like, would a 9-year-old like it? Would a 12-year-old? Would a 35-year-old?
So I think probably 9 would be the youngest.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex and difficult. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. They can't figure anything out on there.
Yeah.
I love it. I love sweating, getting a workout in, and it's super immersive. So I love it. I'd rather do that than sit down on the couch and play.
Yeah.
But,
so that's how you met. You brought the Oculus, but what? Didn't use it?
No. Since he said he'd go out and drink beers with me, so we met up at the bar and had some beer and chatted. And that's the best way to talk business.
Best conversations happen at happy hour. Welcome to ours is our tagline.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like it.
True.
But now, Jimmy, this podcast, just a thought, came up. I went to CSM and had the thought about it, and I know there was some debate whether or not you were part of that.
I do a lot of conversing. Before we hit record, I'm trying to set it up for the audience. Before we hit record, you were like, "Hey, saw you talk with F. Scott." I'm remembering that now.
Okay.
I do a lot of things, and I'm like, was I there for that? Because sometimes I'll tell stories that I've heard that I wasn't there for, or tell stories that I was there for. So apologize, but I wanted to set it up for the audience.
Well, if my wife ever listens to this, she'll realize that I'm very forgetful as well. I'm not involved in that much stuff, so it's a real possibility. But I'm pretty certain that you were there with Dr. Scott Fell from St. Augustine at CSM in San Antonio, and I had a chance to sit down and go through this podcasting lecture, and I found it fascinating on how you could generate, increase your SEO numbers and have sponsorship.
Yeah.
And also just meet some really cool people too. And Daniel and I have done that for the last 6 months, and we've had a great experience. I don't know about you, Daniel, but we've really been really fortunate to have some really cool guests on, learn from them. And we have some sponsorship relationships that's work out really well for us.
Crazy, right? It's every job I've had since graduating has come either like one step, like not even like 7 degrees of separation, 1 degree of separation from the show. And it was not, I gave this presentation yesterday about the origin story of the show. And to be clear, I give the origin story of my podcast, not to just pat myself on the back and talk about how great I am and how innovative I am. I want students to see, like, you can, the line I think I give them is, there's a straight line between any 2 points. Look what I did, ... What can you do? ... 5 years from now, when someone says, I saw you talk at Nazareth College 5 years ago, and it really, it like inceptioned an idea in my head. Look, and then now and then I meet that person at CSM 5 years from now, they go, check out what I've done. And I'm like, holy crap, like, that's so cool. And people have done that. And I'm like, it took a while to plant those seeds, but when they've come about, it's amazing what just having a beer and a conversation can do. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Jimmy, this is actually, I was looking you up a little bit. I saw this is actually your second career, going back to your path.
Yep.
So you started out as a rock DJ.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm a big, loved alternative rock from the 90s all the way to now. There was about a 5-year period in the early 2000s that we don't need to think about. But all right. So what inspired you to go from that, then moving into physical therapy?
Yeah, so I'll start from the background. When I was in 6th grade, I did the morning announcements, and I was like, "Wow!" What are you in 6th grade? 12, 11? And I was like, "Well, I don't know what this is." But I went home and told my mom. I was like, "I don't know what happened today at school, but I did something really cool." And she was like, "What'd you do?" And I was like, "I told everybody when basketball tryouts were and what today's lunch was." And the school was supposed to have somebody do the morning announcements, rotate every week to share the thing, give everybody a chance. I showed up every Monday, and I was like, I'm here, to the point where I hosted them from 6th grade through high school. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but eventually a guidance counselor was like, this is journalism. This is communications. I was like, great. Where do I go to do that? So I did that, got a degree in journalism. While I was in school, I did an internship at a very large radio station in New York City called WPLJ, just a big pop station. I met Mr. Miyagi, like, on my first day.
Sweet.
Which is a cool story. I met Olivia Newton-John, who actually just passed away. But I remember being like 19 and being like, this is cool for all the right reasons. Second big internship, or my last internship, was I worked with Howard Stern at 92.3 WXRK K-Rock in New York. That was before he went to XM radio and satellite. And then I got to be a radio DJ and run radio stations too. I was also the program director after a while, music director. And that's what I was going to do with the rest of my life. That's what I wanted to do as 12-year-old Jimmy. And I was going to do that until I was 92-year-old Jimmy. And I got to work. I was the cliche radio DJ. Cargo shorts, Guns N' Roses t-shirt, give away beer, concert tickets, hang out with rock stars, play music loud. That's it. That's it. That is what I did. And that was my job. I got paid for that. And that still blew my mind. And my friends were very confused. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I stepped in it. I don't know how I did that. Until, for the podcast audience, I'm holding up my smartphone. And when these went from being cute to being smart, I saw something, and I saw trouble. So I was running the radio station at the time, And I remember the first time someone sent me a link on my flip phone, and I clicked the link, and I had my phone attached to my car stereo through like a hacked wire that a buddy like created so I could listen to music. And I was listening to a radio station, KROQ, K-Rock LA. I was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where I was a radio DJ, and I was listening to K-Rock in LA. And this is like, mid 2000s. And I remember just being like, can I curse in this podcast? Is it okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit, geography doesn't matter anymore. And the whole drive, I'm like, it was like when you realized the boat's sinking, I was like, oh God, like I'm panicking right now. I get to work the next day. I tell my bosses, I'm like, everybody needs meeting. All the people who are older and smarter than me and been around longer. I was like, we have a problem. Do you know what this can do now and what this is going to be able to do in 6 months, a year, 18 months, 24 months? We are not prepared for this. And I was told, go back to giving away beer and concert tickets. Like, relax, bro. We got this. As the narrator, they in fact did not have this. They did not pay attention. And it was that moment when I was like, everyone is asleep at the wheel in this industry. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people who are important are asleep at the wheel. And a lot of people in this building are not going to have jobs in 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 5 years. And I am sick to my stomach telling you this, but I was right. I didn't want to be the last. I didn't want to be the violin player on the Titanic. I could have been. That was the program director. I would have been the last guy to get fired. But I was like, now it's like, I need to get out of here. Training for my first Ironman triathlon. And that is sort of like the question you asked. How'd you make that? Where'd you go from radio DJ to PT? Was training for my first Ironman. And the guy who was just like the dude who would organize the big local weekly rides was a PT. Are either you guys triathletes or cyclists? You ever do that sort of thing?
I did Tough Mudder.
Tough Mudder. So like when you do a weekly training, like where we always ended up at the local like pizza place with beer. I know a lot of my stories revolve.
Most.
I'm sorry. Every week I'd watch people come to this guy after rides and they'd be like, my back, my knee, my shoulder, you get PTs and you understand. Without touching them, he would make their body language change because he did this. He had a conversation with them. Tell me about this. And I would watch them go from like, my knee, my back to like, hey, thank you. I'm going to try that. Awesome, man. Appreciate that. And they looked like they were like hopeful and back to being ambitious. And I was like, I don't know what kind of voodoo is going on over at the end of this table, but I want some of that. What are you doing over here? And he talked to me about being a PT. And I was like, I didn't really know what PTs did. I think I was the average person. I was like, I don't know, like old people. And when you hurt, when you have a fracture or a surgery, I don't really know what you do. And I said, I want to do that. And he fight clubbed me. He was like, I don't think you really want to do it. I don't think you have enough design. I don't think you got enough in you. You're just the radio guy. You just hang out and give away beer and concert tickets. And then I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're probably right. And then I came back a week later and I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of think this is cool, whatever. And he fight clubbed me again. Come on, man. Don't jump into this half-assed. Like you can't. Third week, he was like, all right, fine. I know someone who teaches anatomy and physiology at the local community college. I'll get you in. It's late in the semester, but I'll get you in. I jump in. I follow it. He doesn't expect me to. I find this out later. He's like, this is where you divert. And I push back. I join the class, and we're literally pedaling in the middle of Pennsylvania. And he goes, how's that class going? Expecting me to go, oh yeah, here's a reason I couldn't do it. Maybe I'll do it later. And I explained to him how a muscle contracts, like how we learn that in A&P. And he was like, I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. All these things need to happen for just this to happen or this to happen. And he was like, all right, you're in the right spot. So I go to PT and I think I hang up my headphones and my microphone forever. And halfway through, I alluded to this before, it was a requirement that we go to one national and one state conference, sat in a room full of 1,000 people. We've all sat in these rooms before and listening to someone give a presentation that was going over my head. And I thought it was because I was just a second year student, and I'm using air quotes, just a student. I hate that word, just a student. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just going to sit here and be quiet because that's what everybody else is doing. I'm not going to raise my hand. I'm an idiot. Fast forward 2 hours later, I catch up with the networking hour and I understand everything in 15 minutes over a beer. And it just says like, I was like, can I scale conversation? And this is 2015 when podcasting was a thing, but it wasn't like what it is, now.
Right.
And I had to explain to a professor, like, I want to do this. And they were like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Because that doesn't sound like you're studying because you're here to study. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I probably shouldn't do that. Almost didn't. When I still had that thing in my gut, went to another professor, thankfully, and said, I want to do this thing, and here's this thing. And she was like, I have no idea what a podcast is, but it sounds like you really give a shit about this. So I don't know. Why wouldn't you do this? If I hadn't asked a second professor, I wouldn't have done it. So that's the idea. I talk to smart and passionate people about what they're smart and passionate about in our profession. And I get to share all of it for free. Audience wins, Jimmy wins, guest wins. Everybody wins. How great of a formula is that?
That's incredible. Just a follow-up question, Jimmy. I feel like obviously you have a little bit of entrepreneurship, at heart in you too. And I feel like our profession needs more of that, because we're kind of bred to just be employees, check in and check out. And we've had Scott Dickinson, Daniel and I talked in a previous episode about this, but I feel like we need more of that. Like we could have more to say. We could have more to go to bat with insurance companies if we get on the same page together too, and kind of break the mold of things like that and think outside the box. I think we need that. Any thoughts on that?
You keep doing what you've always done. You'll keep getting what you always got. Yeah. Like, bitch about insurance companies not valuing you all you want. They don't care unless you talk to them in their terms about why they should care. Now that's for someone else. That's not Jimmy's jam. That ain't my jam. I'm glad I will support the PT Political Action Committee. I'll donate to that and be a champion of that. That's not what I do because I'm not passionate about it. I don't speak of that. I don't speak of that language.
Right.
But you do. If you keep going through the same process, you will get the same result. And when I say it like that, people are like, well, of course. But then they go right back to doing it. Entrepreneurship and doing something different is scary. That's when you know you're onto something. And not everything because it's scary you should do. You should not jump off a building, right? But sit down and say, like, am I passionate about this? Because if you are, that is going to get you through the suck. Like, even I love podcasting, love talking to people. There's some work behind it, as you guys know, and as the audience probably knows. But that you can get through the suck of something if you really care about it, if you have the passion. So yeah, I mean, we need more ideas from outside the profession. I mean, I was given a great compliment by Sharon Dunn. She said something, ironically, over a beer one day. And she was like, maybe this profession needed a radio DJ to, kick it in the ass. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, Sharon Dunn, I'll take that. But if you keep doing the same things with the same ideas and you're shocked at the result, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
With insurance companies and clinically too. So I think it's good.
Like, think about this. And I understand that there are many different ways to get care, but and this is the conversation I have with people, because I got a buddy up the street who has a cash-based clinic, but he doesn't call it that because I'm in his ear telling him, you have a clinic. How they pay for care, how is not important, right? Tell me about how later. I want to know how I'm going to get this done after I understand if you can help me do me things. That comes first. You start telling me about the 9-step process you got. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm in the right spot. I'm renting. You guys know what a trencher is?
Yes.
It's like a snowblower thing, and it digs a hole if you want to run electric or water or somewhere. I am learning about this because I am renting one now. The website I went to was like all talking about a bunch of gibberish, this local rental place. And I finally just called him like, do you rent trenchers? And he goes, yes. Okay, great. Now I am willing to listen to or read whatever you have because I have to understand that. Go to apple.com. They show you what they're able to help you solve or become long before they tell you how many gigabytes or megabytes or how great their camera is. And we love to not do that. I can't wait to tell you about my education. Don't give a shit until, like, what's the line? People don't know how much, care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
That's bullshit too. They only care about either of those things if they think that what you do or care about can help you do what you care about. Talk to me about me. It's the sexiest sound I've ever heard. I'll listen to you all day if you're talking about me. And we start most PT conversations talking about ourselves. And no wonder people ignore us. And other people, other industries and professionals understand what I just talked about. And they are running 10, 20, 30 miles ahead of us. And then we bitch about them. Well, the chiropractors and the blah, blah, blah. Are you pissed they're doing it, or are you pissed they're doing it better than you?
Yeah.
Which one is that? Answer that question before you move on.
Yeah. It's the dentist for me. because I have some friends who are dentists, and I'm just like, y'all have killed it. You've really done a nice job as
dentists or chiropractors just look and they go, scoreboard, bro.
guy.
And it's not even a money or a patient thing. It's like, I'm helping more people my way. Are you mad I'm doing it? Or are you mad I'm doing it better than you? I think you're mad they're doing it better than us. I'm mad they're doing it better than us. There was a thing on a Mets game the other day. It's called Legsercise. I haven't even watched the ad, but people were on the Twitter. They were on the Twitter talking about it. And it's like it's like a CPM machine. It's like, hey, strap your legs in this and we'll do leg exercises. And people are like, this is not evidence-based. And this isn't actually going to help them. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm pissed too. What are you going to do about it? Yell at Legsercise or show the people who watch the Mets game with that ad on it a different way they can achieve their goals? Don't tell them how to achieve their goals. Make sure you understand, hey, do you want to run without pain? Do you want to be able to lift your grandchild without back pain? Start with that. And they're like, yes, I do. And these things sound like opening lines to infomercials because people who write infomercials know how to communicate things or sell things. I think it's communication. You might think sales, it's icky, it feels dirty. Great. Sit in your clinic alone and feel clean, or sit in your clinic with a potential patient and know that you're able to help them. Your choice.
Looking for a way to improve sport-specific training with your athletes? Then you have to check out Blaze Pods. Blaze Pods is a neurocognitive reaction training intervention that can be incorporated into your sessions for patients throughout the treatment spectrum. Visit blazepod.com, enter code EVERYTHINGPT at checkout, and save 15% off your order today. Hey, all you rehab specialists out there. Do you have an isokinetic dynamometer just sitting around your clinic not being used? Little known fact, isokinetic machines that aren't used regularly are at higher risk for bouts of sadness. Help your machine out and take CSMI's newest CEU course, Isokinetics 101 online, created by me, Daniel Bodkin, and learn how to use all the exercise and testing applications available on your machine. With new and exciting rehab techniques in your toolbox, your sad isokinetic machine can become an active member of the rehab team again and regain its happiness. Isokinetics 101 online by CSMI has been approved for 8 credit hours for athletic trainers, physical therapists, and physical therapy assistants. Contact your state board for details on specific requirements. This course is available at humacnorm.com/courses/isokinetics-101. Well, Jimmy, my hot word of this whole conversation is, other than beer, is communication, right? And that's everything. Not only are we communicating with the patient, but within the staff. You're communicating with your insurance, communicating to the doctors. I mean, marketing, everything we do is communication. I can talk all day. I have no problems with that. But what do you say to that person who's an introvert, who tends to clam up when anytime somebody's in front of them? How can they learn the skills to communicate?
You want to be able to lift more weights, frequency, intensity, time, and type. Do something hard often. Make it a little harder when it gets easy. So I don't think you can use the I'm an introvert or extrovert excuse. Extroverts are louder and we're comfortable doing it. Why do people, and I have no research on this, we'll just go with anecdote, right? Why are extroverts better communicators? I'm not saying they are or they are not. Probably because they're doing it more. So they either got better or just better at being crappy, whichever way you think they are. Are introverts bad at communicating? I don't think they are. I think they might communicate differently, because now we're talking about personality types versus communication types. So that's where I don't want to murky the waters. But how do you get better at communicating? Suck, do it more, suck a little less, do it more, suck a little less. The first time I ever grabbed a microphone and went on my college radio station where 9 people were probably listening, I did my first mic break, hit play on my first song, ran to the bathroom and vomited. I was so nervous. Had I stopped there, because I was like, this sucks. This is icky. Why did I get sick? Why was this, why did this make me feel this way? It made me feel that way because I cared so much. I wanted to be better. I was willing to go back in that room with a mouthful of vomit after I'd rinsed it out and say, okay, I'm going to suck a little less now. And I have to know that 10 years from now, I'll be better, but I'm going to suck in between now and then.
Well, I think that's important and just a good quality of life. Like our first recording, Daniel, I've listened back at it and
I hate it.
We're not that great, and our sound quality is not good. I'm doing weird things. My lighting's awful, but we've gotten a little bit better and better and better, and we're going to continue to. And I think about my practice as a therapist in 10 years and how day one looks absolutely nothing like today does. I'm embarrassed of my day one.
You should be embarrassed. You should hate episode 1. You should hate it. Why? Because you were bad? No, because you're so much better now.
Right.
You're like, I can't believe that's the same person. Good. But you can't get to episode 100, my friends, and you know this, but this is for the audience. You can't get to episode 100 or patient 100 or business pitch 100 unless you get through 1 and 15 and 37, and some of those suck, and you learn things. You step in bear traps and landmines, and you get your foot blown off, and you go, oh, that was a mistake, and then you just don't do that again.
Yeah. So Jimmy, just a follow-up question from Daniel, just to piggyback. So on communication, I feel like the smartest people in our therapy schools do not necessarily make the best therapists per se. Okay. I feel like people who are the best communicators make, I don't say the best therapists, but highly effective therapists. What are your thoughts on maybe some more formal education in our preparation and schooling and things along that line?
I mean, that's a loaded question. Of course, I'm going to say yes.
Sure.
But it goes back to what I just said, right? People don't, I always screw this quote up because I hate it now, which is like, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's like, they don't know what they don't know until you show them. And then if you confuse people, you lose people. So you could be super smart, but if I can't understand what the hell you're saying, it doesn't matter, right? If you never bother to communicate it, it also doesn't matter, because if I don't know that. If you can give it to me in me terms, talk to Jimmy in Jimmy's way. This is why, like, people know me as the guy who talks, because I talk a lot. I also do a lot of paying attention and listening and looking. Mm-hmm. I read body language. Now, I did not do this formally. I did this by sucking, by interviewing people in radio and not doing it well, and then replaying that back and being like, they were telegraphing what they wanted you, the direction they wanted you to go, and you didn't go that way. So they were annoyed or whatever. So it's verbal, nonverbal, and paraverbal. So everybody knows verbal and nonverbal, and paraverbal is also how you do things, right? You guys are really exciting. I said the same thing twice, but the second way was a little bit differently, right? So I think, yes, I agree with you. It's a loaded question. Ask a communications guy if you think communication is something that should be taught more formally. Yes, I've been screaming this from the rooftops. I'm now developing something for schools to plug in. I don't know what that solution would be, because I can't bitch about a problem and then not offer a solution. That would be disingenuous of me. Sure. So I'm like, hey, PT schools, if someone did this thing that you say you want or know you need, but did it for you because you don't have someone to do it, would that be of interest to you? And everybody I've talked to has been like, yes, where do I buy? And I go, cool, I always like doing that too. Make sure there's interest in your product before you go and put a ton of time, effort, and sweat, blood, and tears into it. So anyway, long answer to your short question. I'll use another quote. The message that successfully communicates one thing is infinitely better than the message that fails to communicate two things. Congratulations, you jammed 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. I don't understand. And you know how the kids would say it these days? TLDR. Too long, didn't read. You sent me a giant email with 4,000 words, didn't read any of them. Or if you sent me an email that said, I have the solution to your communication problem, click here. Which one do you think just communicated an idea more effectively? Which one's going to get more clicks? Which one showed that you paid attention to your audience? It was about them, not you. That's why you win.
Yeah. I just learned that with the job posting. I listed everything about our staff physical therapist job posting, all these things you get, and it was a mile long too. And I'm realizing that it was way too long. And we have that, that was too long, didn't read.
So what'd you do? How did you change, or did you change?
Yeah, we did change. And now I'm individually emailing people. And I am also saying, do you want to, not see 30 patients a day?
Talk to me about me. I don't want that. Keep going. Personalized.
Right. What else? Do you want to be immersed in the best continuing education annually? Do you want to have the best equipment? Right. Leaning in physical therapy, and those things like that.
You give them breadcrumbs.
You might be a good fit for our clinic. Would you be willing to have a 10-minute conversation with me? And then I can, get that person in. And then once I talk to them and get them on the phone, it seems to go a lot better. Again, just because our method of communication has improved, I think.
Your type of communication
Yeah.
You gave them digestible bites. You laid out a breadcrumb trail for me that was very simple for me to follow. And I'm mentally saying yes. You're also weeding people out who don't want that. Great, good. Don't waste your time. Don't waste theirs. It's a breadcrumb trail. This sounds like an infomercial. Don't you hate it when? Would you like to do and make fun of infomercials all you want, but they make billions upon billions of dollars. But what they do is they help people feel like they are getting closer to a solution for their problem. Shit, isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Right.
Well, Jimmy, you know, there's a big term that's thrown around a lot lately called the imposter syndrome. And, you know, I'm a little bit older. I'm 1 foot in Gen X, 1 foot in millennial. Nice. But I almost feel like people didn't even know they had imposter syndrome until they heard it. And now they're like, oh, I don't feel I'm part of that. And I think that's a big part of it. People are coming out of school and they don't think that they are, you know, they don't fit that mold.
Right.
And really, it's like, well, if they never even heard that term before, would they even feel that anymore?
So I would say, so I never heard of imposter syndrome until grad school as well. I find it magical when you talk to someone who puts words to your feelings. And now the reason you're hearing about it more is because we're talking about it more. I don't think it created the thing. I think people are now, it's like mental health. I think the prevalence of mental health is probably the same. The amount we're talking about it now is a ton more for good reason. I think imposter syndrome is, you know, I'm not a mental health professional, but I think it's something that was always there. I had it. Never, when someone put words to it, I literally was like, oh shit, yeah, no, I got that. So did it make more people have that? I don't think so. I think it just put words to people's music, words to their feelings already. And now they're like, now that they're able to sing that song, because now there's words to the song.
Yeah, but I think the problem is moving on from that.
Yeah.
Okay, recognize, you know, you have that patient sitting in front of you, or you're going to marketing and you're talking to a doc.
Yeah.
It's, okay, what advice do you have for somebody to move on? Yeah, absolutely. Other than, you know, get more reps, like you mentioned earlier.
So say the scary thing out loud, I would say, man, I feel like, and say it either to yourself or say it to people you know are your tribe, like your people, the people you call, not the people you send the highlight reel pictures to, the people you send like the mud on your face, I just failed hard. And they're going to go, and they're not going to say, it's going to be okay. Those people are nice. The people are going to go, yeah, you fucked up. Didn't think about that, huh? And you go, yup. And then they go, you're still a good person at heart. You did it for you want those people, because those people, you're actually going to listen to them. The really nice cheerleaders are great, right? You can do no wrong. The super important people are the people who are going to give it to you straight. And they're going to go, you fucked up, man. Like, this was bad, right? Not fatal, though. And look, you're actually good enough for this. And I'm going to say it whether you believe it. I'm going to say it until you believe it. And that does not cure it, but it makes it better for the short term. I think this is reps. I think you have to keep doing it because that little imposter syndrome is going to creep back. I think that's also a sign that you're not a psychopath. I mean, there are some people who are just like, I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof, baby. Look how freaking, I mean, I've worked with some of these people. I can do no wrong. Everything that I say, I piss. What did Will Ferrell say? And tell it, I piss excellence. I wake up in the morning, piss excellence. Like, Will Ferrell's character is a little freaking nuts, right? He needs to be brought down to earth. I think if you are down to earth and you don't have this, I'd question your personality a little bit, right? We should doubt ourselves a little bit. But it's that weird flirt. It's like Icarus. Can't go too high or you'll melt the wings. Can't go too low, you'll freeze the wings. There is a middle ground. And the only way to know that is to go too high and to go too low.
I do love Talladega Nights, for the record. I think it's probably my favorite comedy out there, Jimmy. So yeah, shake it back. But just talking about, I want to take advantage of you while we're here, since I would say just an incredible communicator. I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget, but you know, some things that I do to help build that therapeutic alliance. We had J.W. Matheson on several months ago, but we talked a lot about building the therapeutic alliance. So I'll write down some notes about, you know, what this person did for a living, if they're retired. You know, one person, I remember we wrote down the names of their horses that they love to do, and what they like to be called to. Any other tips for new graduates out there? Just to improve that therapeutic alliance immediately for people like that.
Did I talk about this before we hit record? The thing I did in the pediatric clinic? I talked about it before I hit record, right? Yeah. So I was in peds, and I changed my patient intake form, which obviously gets filled out most of the time by a parent. And I added like, what are your child's like 3 favorite movies or TV shows or YouTube channels or songs? Because the fun part in peds, which again, this is a side topic, why do we do pediatric PT all about fun and games and things I like, and then we go to adults who make it about boring crap I don't like? I don't know. That could be an entire different episode. But there was a patient in our clinic, and I watched as my mentor, Amy O'Malley, had this child who was difficult to work with, and I'm using air quotes, right? Patient is non-compliant in clinic, and she would play VeggieTales, and that girl did whatever Amy was suggesting that day because she paid attention to what the girl liked and paying attention to what someone's horses' names are and what they do for a living. Where are you most you? What are the things that make you? I get it. You got to have name and social security number and address and insurance on your intake. Cool. Maybe that stuff doesn't need to be on the intake. Maybe that's the first conversation. But I remember being in so many clinics as a student and as a new grad. Well, no, not as a new grad, as a student, where it was like, your subjective is 10 minutes long. And I'm like, not long enough. Because how am I supposed to figure out you in 10 minutes, right? I don't know. Maybe it could be 10 minutes. Maybe the person is introverted and that's all I'm going to be able to get. Or I will overload her or him. But if I'm rolling, I thought I was in charge here. I'm the PT, right? Step back. I'm getting this, and you get a ton of information. I mean, you give someone enough microphone cable, give them enough space and time, they're going to tell you at least most, if not all, the answers. You've heard other people say that. I've taken that line or idea from other people. Give them room. They're going to tell you why you're there instead of, what brings you in today? Well, my knee hurts. Okay. Not enough information. Right? My knee hurts. What do I do? Oh, okay. I know exactly what to do. No, you don't. Keep circling. I give it the onion method. You guys ever peel an onion?
Sure.
Okay. Where do you start? You start, I don't know, you cut it somewhere or whatever. And the fun part about an onion is if you try to cut right to the middle of the onion, you cry, right? You get all onion in your eye. So that's not effective. So the idea is carefully cut somewhere on the outside, get that husk gone. Once you get the husk gone, you can actually peel an onion. You just keep going layer, 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 layer. It'll fall apart if you go carefully enough, and you won't cry. But what's at the middle of an onion? Nothing. No seed, no nut. The process is the reason. The reason is, why do you peel an onion? So I could have little bits of onion. I need some of it. Not all of it's useful. The husk is actually the superficial crap on the outside. I don't really need that. Maybe I do, but most of the time you don't. How are you? I'm doing great. That didn't tell me anything. Great.
Right.
So the process is actually the reason. You peel the onion to peel the onion.
Gotcha. Very good information.
I made that up.
I was thinking Shrek the whole time.
Is that from Shrek? Did I steal that?
No. Shrek was trying to explain how he is like an onion because he has many layers.
Oh, okay. So I might have actually gotten that from Shrek and not or played off of that. But I remember thinking like the process is the process is the purpose, and peeling an onion gives you nothing except a whole bunch of smaller bits of onion. And that's the idea if you're going to cook it.
Very good. Jimmy, just shifting gears here. Do you do any clinical practice right now?
So I asked students this question, and I tell them not to answer out loud. It's like, pick a card, but don't show me. Answer this question before I talk to them. I say, is Jimmy a real physical therapist? And I said, don't answer. Don't answer. And then I explain, I haven't treated a patient one-on-one in 4 years. I have a degree. I have a license. Does that make me a real PT? I don't know. Don't answer. Don't answer. I work in a research lab, but don't conduct research. I do not work in academia. I have not worked in a clinical setting. And what else? Yeah. So it's like clinical, academic, or research. I do not conduct in there, but I do. I'm employed by a research lab at Mount Sinai Hospital. And then I tell them my journey. I go through like half hour, whatever. I tell them the stories I told you. And then I say, now here, before you answer with show of hands, is Jimmy a real physical therapist or not? There's no maybe. There's yes or no, right? I say, think about this. My show gets between my podcast and the YouTube channels and the social whatever, gets between 60 and 120,000 downloads a month. And I don't know how many views on YouTube and social media impressions, whatever. That's all cute. But if I have a conversation with you guys and someone listens and learns something and they go out to help one
Yeah.
person or 50 people or 5,000 people over their career, can I ever touch a patient without ever touching a patient? And then I just stop and I say, is Jimmy a real physical therapist or not? And then I'm like, so they vote, and obviously I'm standing in front of them. So of course you are, right? I'm not going to be a jerk, but I'm like, think about this, right? Like, do you have to do it the same way as everybody else?
No.
I would say being a clinician and treating one-on-one is fantastic. If that's what you want to do, you should. This is not better or worse. This is different. Because for me, I can see a way to do many things at once, and I love it and feel fulfilled by it. Still have imposter syndrome. There are days when I'm like, you are worthless. But yeah, that's how I explain it.
Okay. Well, it kind of reminds me of the saying, if you can catch a man a fish, or you can teach a man to fish, and he'll feed himself for a life, kind of thing. And so in a way, you're kind of educating the people who are going to be with the patients. So rather than seeing, a couple patients a day or 15 to 18 a day on a really busy day, you're helping all of the therapists themselves. I think, and that carries a lot of weight too.
Neither is better. Neither is better or worse. This is just different. And that's where like that, line from Sharon Dunn would still, because I look up to her and she's like an idol to a lot of people, makes the hair on my arm stand up, which is like, if I could do it with a microphone, like what could we touch? And there's people that have come on my show. There was a guy who started a clinic in Vermont, Snow Beast Performance, and he came on the show because I reached out to him on Instagram and I was like, dude, this is really cool. You treat snowboarders and skiers and you're a super niche practice. Come on the show and tell everybody, like, whatever. Did not know this until live in the episode. And I said, who gave you permission? Like, he wasn't even from Vermont, like moved into Vermont and was just like, I'm going to set up shop here because this is where skiers and snowboarders live. And went there, and that's what he wanted to do. And he said this to me, and this made me feel like full circle. Like he gave me he was like recognizing the purpose. He said, I listened to too many people on your show who just went and did it. And I said, why not me? And I did it. And I was like, hell yeah. I didn't do that. I created the space for those guests to say it. And I put it through the iTunes and he found it somehow. And now he's got his own practice, and he wakes up in the morning and puts his feet on the ground and goes, hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, so I have a pretty non-traditional practice, and I never would have thought to do it this way if it weren't for people like you or the prehab guys or
Danny McKay,
I mean, Danny McKay, that guy's awesome. But yeah, it's because of people showing that, hey, you can do it your way, that I was able to realize, hey, I can figure this out. I can do it how I want to. I can step outside that mold.
Why in infomercials do we show people using the process, using the product? Why, when that person, that director for that infomercial or for commercial, specifically puts people who look like their target audience in the commercial? Because you're sitting there, and the first person to do it, the first person to launch a cash practice or whatever, everybody's like, he's going to sail off the edge of the earth. He's going to die. That ain't going to work. Why? Because it's never worked before. Mm-hmm. But the 50th person is like, hell yeah. But you still need to do, because it's still a leap. Like, this is your job and your livelihood and your food and your mortgage. And if you have a family, like this is, and that's where it reps. The more you hear those people talking about it and going, this doesn't sound so outlandish anymore. It's like they give you a really like rough piece of wood. That's what you are. You're nervous. You run your hand over a rough piece of wood, you're going to get a splinter. But if every time you hear someone else's success or doing this, you just take that really gritty sandpaper and you just swipe it over once. Once ain't going to do it. It might not. You do it again till eventually that piece, you're like, this feels like it could be smooth. I could actually do this. And from that moment, if you decide to take the leap, it's buried deep inside of you. Now you've got the passion. Now when the suck shows up, you can find the solution to whatever pops up, the suck. But sometimes it takes 5,000 swipes of the sandpaper. Sometimes it's 500. Sometimes it's 5 million. I don't know. It's different for all of us.
Yeah. I feel like our field needs more of those thoughts. Yeah. Thinking differently, because those insurance companies have us bent over a barrel. We're seeing our best clinicians go cash pay because they're just like, listen, I ain't dealing with this. Yeah. And I kind of get it, because we are traditional based. And that's why I'm really interested to talk to Danny McKay about that a little bit more in the future.
Did you read his book?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Fuck Insurance.
Right.
Tell me his book called Fuck Insurance. right, doesn't scream to the exact person Danny wants to talk to. And that's why he's got a book and a course and a podcast, because Danny's like, just listen. And if you want to take the leap that I took and that I take with my clients every day, do it. Danny's just sanded. He's just sanding the wood every day until your log is smooth and you're like, I'll take the jump.
Yeah, I took a BFR course at his clinic when I moved to I moved here to Atlanta, and I was like, I'm not going to work for somebody, and took his course. He showed up at the end of the day, gave me his book, and that kind of really launched, what I'm doing because of that.
Sandpaper,
I think it's great that when I was a student, I didn't have, there was podcasting, but I had no idea. I didn't care about it. But our students have such access to people like you, Jimmy, and hopefully this podcast to just have more of those thoughts. I think that we can plant in their minds, and then they can change. It can change their trajectory in a huge way, because we're here because I sat in a lecture that you gave, earlier this year. So.
Right. I mean, the students kept asking questions the other day, and I do student conversations. And if you're a student and you want me to do a Zoom, whatever, like Zoom allows me to not have to get on a plane to talk to your school, I'm willing to do it live, because some things can be asynchronous, some things can be recorded, and that's great. Sometimes you want to be the person poking and asking questions. Cool. And that's what I get to do with students a lot. And it was me and 2 other people on a panel at Nazareth College like yesterday. And I said, you're going to hate my answers because I'm going to repeat myself 4,000 different ways. And I put it in the chat. I said, all of my answers, mark my words, will be people. And every answer I gave was, some of them weren't people. And they were like, well, that's not person. And I was like, nope, reduce the fraction, boil what I just said down. And at the base of everything I just said was people, 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 people.
Right.
Podcasting lets you connect at scale. It's not fancy. This is spoken word, what we're doing right now. This is what our ancestors did. This is what our brain is wired to do. It's just we can have this conversation in Atlanta and West Virginia and upstate New York. And now someone in Colorado, California, Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma can hear it 3 days from now, 3 weeks from now, 3 years from now. It's insane when you start thinking about that. It still blows my mind, and I do this for a living. I'm still dumbfounded by it.
Well, Jimmy, before we get back and you get on that trencher, how can people find you?
We kept it simple. We called the show PT Pintcast, physical therapy. We drank a pint cast. If I had to rename the podcast, I probably would. Like, it's cute and everything like that. And people mispronounce it. I'll tell you all the time. People are like, if you wrote out PINT, you would say pint. 99.9% would say pint. People, for some reason, when I put it PT Pintcast, PT Pintcast, I'm like, that is not it. But okay, as long as you type PT Pintcast or PT Pintcast, it goes to the same website. So yeah, the podcast is on all the socials. We're on YouTube. We're wherever you, our target audience, or the people we want to serve, already are. That's where we are.
Very cool. Jimmy, you're very generous with your time. Thank you for the course. Way back when you had a mob of people around you, so I didn't want to bother you then. But thank you for your time. And
thank you guys for doing it and actually listening and saying, why not? If not now, when? If not me, then who? And you did it.
I think, Daniel, our microphones cost like $50, and that's it. And now we make.
Now, hold on a second. So you got microphones, right, for $50. You're at 100. You got your time, which is not cheap.
Right.
Are you ROI positive on creating this podcast? By factors of 10, right? By multiple factors, right? And was it nerve-wracking when you did the first episode and leading up to that first episode?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to fail and people are going to laugh at me. Here's the best part I tell people. So I coach organizations and people to launch podcasts. And I say, if you suck and no one listens, they didn't hear how bad you sucked. Or they only heard it once and they went away. And the only way to get to episode 100 and be less sucky is to suck at episode 1. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That's it.
And I encourage people to just try too, because Daniel and I have tried, and we've got to interview people like you, Eric Maida, George Davies, JW Matheson, and and the list goes on. And we've learned from those people. Daniel, I'm sure you've learned a thing or two. I know I've learned a ton, and it changes our trajectory, like we were talking.
Well, let me ask you this. What's your goal with the podcast? Then I'll tell you mine, because we're PT's got to have a goal, or else how do you know when you've achieved it? So what's your goal with this show? There's no wrong answer, but what do you guys, and it could be individual for each of you.
All right. So my main goal, other than Matt asking me to do it, was I needed to fill up and tell my wife I did a lot of things. That way she didn't make me get a real job.
Done.
My initial hopes for the podcast was to increase the search engine optimization, but it's interesting because it's kind of molded to being a platform for us to just scream from the rooftops to students and to just try to talk about the reimbursement for insurance. We keep coming back a lot because it stymies a lot of our pay and just a progression in the field, I think. So
my goal is I have to have a micro goal and a macro goal, right? My micro goal is with each episode, have fun and learn one thing. I mean, that's a pretty low bar, but that I have to do one thing. I've done. Right. You learn and have fun multiple times in each episode. Macro goal for the podcast. And I said this to my professor when I was still a student. I said, I want to be the voice of physical therapy. And she said, what does that mean? I said, I don't know yet. So I'm still going towards it. And I have to clarify that for it to be a real goal. But what if I could teach 100 people how to launch a podcast?
Right.
That looks like a really cool Venn diagram, and how that explodes and spreads. And the only way to, the only way to really build a tribe is you have to have a common, Seth Godin said, to build a tribe, a common belief or an idea that you all agree in or want to learn more about, and a way to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Right. And a podcast is one-way communication. But as soon as you have that social media channel, that email, that phone number, and you can close that, you can open or keep that loop closed.
Yeah.
Now you can build a tribe, and other people have done it. This is not just me saying it. People have done it. You've listed many of them, and that's the way the rising tide lifts all ships. I'm a quote machine today, I feel like.
I like it, man. The word that comes to mind there is exponential growth. You get that factorial effect too. And I think the more we talk about things like this, I think it's just the better for the future of therapy. And that's, I know Daniel and I are eager to give back as well. So I feel like it's the best.
And you're giving time and someone else is benefiting, right? They're not paying you for podcasts. It's the beautiful thing. It's free knowledge. Can you monetize other things? That could be a completely different episode or conversation. Yes. Sure. But if you lead with a give, very rarely lose when you lead with an honest give.
Very true. Well, Jimmy, thank you again for your time. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks, guys.
Like what you hear? Tell a friend or leave a review on iTunes or Google Play.
The show today is brought to you by the Brooks Institute of Higher Learning, an innovator in providing advanced post-professional education. The Brooks IHL offers 7 on-site PT residencies, including orthopedics, women's health, geriatrics, pediatrics, sports, and neurology, as well as a neurologic OT fellowship, a competitive OMPT fellowship, and a speech therapy clinical fellowship. Therapists that complete a residency or fellowship through the Brooks IHL will markedly advance their knowledge and skills in a specialty area of practice. Learn more about how a residency or fellowship can help you advance your professional development at brooksihl.org.
Our home on the internet. PTPintcast.com. Created by Build PT. Build PT provides marketing services specifically for private practice PTs. From website development and hosting to providing content marketing solutions for PT clinics across the country. See what Build PT can do for you today at buildpt.com.
The PT Pintcast is a product of PT Pintcast LLC. It is hosted and produced by PT Pintcast CEO Jim McKay and CBO Sky Donovan from Marymount University. We talk PT, drink beer, and record it. This has been another pour from the PT Pintcast. The PT Pintcast is intended for educational purposes only. No clinical decision-making should be based solely on one source. While care is taken to ensure accuracy, factual errors can be present. More on the show at ptpintcast.com.